Hello everyone, welcome to ACE Online and welcome to daily current affairs session. So we have very less articles today and the two are very factual in nature. There is no analysis or conceptual things. So it will not take too much time today. Briefly, what are the articles that we are going to cover today? First, enforcement directory. So you might be aware that Arvind Kejriwal, the Delhi Chief Minister, right, has been arrested, and similarly Supreme Court, there was a lot of issues related to the enforcement directory. Certain people have complained about it, and then a lot of petitions are also filed in the Supreme Court that said the powers of enforcement directory is going beyond certain level. So we will see what Supreme Court has said and what actually is enforcement directory, from where the powers are being derived and how they are working. So all those things related to the enforcement directory we will see in details about this article. Next one, South Asian Regional Update, a report related to the jobless growth by the World Bank. So the name itself is important, and then details what the World Bank has said is important if you are writing a subjective exam like Group 1 for state PSCs, right, or civil services. The details is more important. For objective, it is not too much important to know the details about the report, rather you have to remember the report name itself, that will be sufficient. Next, Paradip Port. So a special unique thing has happened. The production of certain thing has gone beyond the Kandla port. So this become the India's biggest port in certain category. So we will see what has achieved and then the features of Paradip port, where it is located and all we will see. Next, Kallakadal. So it is a Malayalam name, also called as swell waves in English, or storm surges. So we will see details about it. There was an article in the Indian Express, so that we will discuss. Then Dosti 16 exercise. So this is the 16th edition. So Dosti exercise between India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. So that also we will see, and there are 3-4 factual pointers as well. So these are all the articles that we are going to discuss for today, right? So I hope all the voice and everything is from fine from my side. If in case any issues, you can comment here so that we will resolve. Okay. Yeah, very good evening, Rajkumar, Santosh, Srinath, Malini, Indila and Ramya. Thanks for attending the session. Right. So we will go with the discussion. Enforcement Directorate. So we have just discussed that even Arvind Kejriwal, the Delhi Chief Minister, has been arrested by ED officials after giving lot of notices, right? And one more context is Supreme Court has endorsed the sweeping powers. There is sweeping powers means a complete powers were given to the enforcement directory to arrest any individual or to ask the individual to present whenever they ask, right? So Supreme Court has said that the enforcement directorate has sufficient powers through various acts such as Foreign Exchange Management Act as well as PMLA, right, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. There are certain acts which were passed by the Parliament, and in those acts there was clearly mentioned about the role of enforcement directory. So sufficient powers are there for enforcement directory to call anyone whenever there is requirement of investigation. So that was emphasized by the Supreme Court, and it was published in the Hindu newspaper and various other newspapers as well. Now, what is actually Directorate of Enforcement or Enforcement Directorate? Why it is there in news multiple times? What is this power? So all these things we need to know for our exam, right? So it is a multidisciplinary organization. It means it takes care of various things like money laundering. It will investigate corruption. Yes, it will investigate, and if there is any illegal transaction of money from other country to India or from India to other country. So it has a multiple role to play in our Indian intelligence unit as well as the administration unit related to the revenue. So it is a multidisciplinary organization which is mandated to take care of any offences related to the money laundering and then violation of foreign exchange laws. So foreign exchange means transacting our money with the other countries. So there is a lot of Hawala money. There is a movie also, Shivaji, which hero Rajinikanth has acted. So he sent back the money to the other country, that is USA, and again that will come back to India. So such illegal things were also being regulated under the enforcement directory, right? One is to take care money laundering. Money laundering means shifting the money illegally, right, or transacting the money illegally without any proper sources. So these two are the major elements of the duties of the enforcement directorate. It is mandatory to act of this body, and it comes under the Department of Revenue under Ministry of Finance. Very important to remember, it is a fact. So this is being administered under Ministry of Finance under Department of Revenue. So Ministry of Finance have different departments like Department of Economic Affairs, Department of Financial Services, Department of Revenue. There are sub departments under the ministry, and this is the department which is taking care of the enforcement directorate, right. And little bit going back to the history, initially it was launched under Department of Economic Affairs. See, when it was launched in 1956, it was called as a enforcement unit. Enforce means applying something which is there in the law, right. So it was an enforcement unit under Department of Economic Affairs in 1956, but in the next 1 year, 1957, this was renamed as Enforcement Directorate, from enforcement unit to the enforcement directorate, and in 1960 this was changed from Department of Economic Affairs to the Department of Revenue within Ministry of Finance. So this is also important, and this enforcement directorate has two important laws which has to be take care. This enforcement directorate has to take care the provisions of Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002, and then Foreign Exchange. Okay, it was entrusted to implement this, as well as Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. So these two acts were enforced by enforcement directorate, right. So this is important to understand. Yes, here it is. So it is also responsible to apply two laws. One is Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and then Foreign Exchange Management Act, right. Next, one more act is there as the context has come, FCRA. We have discussed this also, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Don't confuse with these two acts. This is Exchange Management Act, and FCRA is a Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. A few days back itself we have discussed this about NGOs. If NGOs are deploying some money from other contributions made by other countries, those are regulated under FCRA. So NGOs are regulated under FCRA, that is under Ministry of Home Affairs. This Foreign Exchange Management Act is managed by Enforcement Directorate under Ministry of Finance. Those two should not be confused, right. Also, this Enforcement Directorate does not have power to register the cases, right. So it itself cannot register any cases against anyone. Only that if there was already a case against any particular individual made by CBI or any other organization, law enforcement or law and order organization, police, so only if already case has happened, then only that will take care. The enforcement directorate will take care of the thing to punish those individuals, to investigate. It cannot take the cases on its own. It cannot register case on its own. That is very, very important point and has been already asked in the exam, right. Now it is required to by the agencies such as CBI and other law and order organizations to register a case. After registering case, it will take care of investigation, right. So this is about the enforcement directorate. Now who will select the enforcement directorate and the members? It is appointed by the government, central government. It is not president but central government through the recommendation of the committee, headed by Central Vigilance Commissioner. There is already one more organization called Central Vigilance Commissioner to contain corruption in India, right. So this whoever is the chairman that time, along with the members of other like Home Secretary and Vigilance Commissioner members, so those members will recommend to the government. Indirectly you can say Prime Minister headed by the Council of Ministers. This committee will recommend to the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, and finally central government will select the member as a ED director. So this is the appointment of the members of Enforcement Directorate. Now what the court has said, Enforcement Directorate has taken care of lot of cases in the West Bengal. So when they went to West Bengal, there was a attack by certain party members also against Enforcement Directorate members, right. It was there in news. So it's been very active since few years, especially in the last 2-3 years. Now certain individuals have filed a case in the Supreme Court that ED is going beyond its powers, right. But Supreme Court, what we have said, let us see what the court has said. There is a section 52, right, under the PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we have just discussed, right. So under section 50A of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, ED can summon any person. Supreme Court has said that it was clearly mentioned that Enforcement Directorate can call anyone to attend for the investigation. So how can we prevent it? So that is one observation made by the Supreme Court. So any evidence it asks, any records, so anyone has to give it in front of the Enforcement Directorate. Nobody can reject. Recently in Tamil Nadu, four collectors, IAS officers were asked by Enforcement Directorate to provide the details related to the illegal sand mining, but they did not submit the report on time, and Supreme Court has questioned them. How can you derelict your duty? When Enforcement Directorate has asked about sand mining and we have already said that you have to follow, and still you are not following. So that means you are against not only for Enforcement Directorate, but you are also disrespecting the court, right. So this is also one more important observation the Supreme Court has made, that you are disrespecting the court's order. That is one observation. And one more observation is section 53 of the same PMLA Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, also said that individuals when summoned, when called by Enforcement Directorate, are bound to attend. I mean, they have to attend when they have called. There is no exemption, but anyone has to observe and provide the requirement statements to the Enforcement Directorate. So here Supreme Court has endorsed the sufficient or sweeping powers which were already existing in the Enforcement Directorate. That is the context, and we have seen what is Enforcement Directorate and what is the duties of two acts, PMLA and then FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, right. So this is about the article related to the Enforcement Directorate. Yes, like black money, yes, you are correct. So like black money changes to white, anything, like see, there was also liquor scam that was happened, even some politicians involved from Telangana and then Delhi and some more states. So what they have said, they have quoted the higher amount and it was sold for lesser amount, and then the money was pocketed by certain politicians. Any illegal transaction which was not recorded can be taken care by the Enforcement Directorate, right. So that is what happening, and that is the duties of Enforcement Directorate. Next article, any doubts in this, in Enforcement Directorate article? I hope it is very simple thing, there is no complex factual things you need to remember. What are the what is the duties, what are the acts carried when it was launched, which ministry was handling, what is the duties, those are all facts to be remembered, right. So next article, South Asian Regional Update Report. So this is a report name which was published by the World Bank. It is very important to understand. Let's see how the youth of the country are struggling to get the employment, right. So what World Bank says about the unemployment, let's understand that in detail, right. So this is the report related to the South Asia. South Asia means we have India, Pakistan, and then Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, so not Myanmar, Southeast Asia, it is Bangladesh. So these all are the countries of the South Asia. I mean the world, in the world map, they are located in the southern part of Asia. So the details are given related to the South Asian region, right. So this is a report, and what the main important point, the headline was noted by almost all the newspaper, is that demographic dividend. The demographic dividend was not making full utilization by the countries in the South Asian region. Now you may ask, what is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend means the amount of age group people which are in youth and can contribute for the economic growth of the country. So for example, India's youth is 15 to you can say, the working population rather than it is a youth, so 15 to 60. So this is a section where the people can involve in the work and can produce some goods and services, right. So demographic dividend is the section of population which has capabilities to contribute for the economic growth. So that is called as a demographic dividend. Now as India is a young nation, that means we have very good amount of working population, right. So since last 1 or 2 decades we have a very good demographic dividend, but the bank report says that we are not fully utilizing it. If you observe the Indian reality, practically observe the Indian youth, most of the people are educated, the education was there, but it is not clearly enhanced with the skills, right. So they practically don't know the skills how to handle. So government has to propel the technical or practical education, and then it will be useful for our economic growth, right. So this demographic dividend which we are having, and no other countries, even China got lost recently, right, demographic dividend, it is losing. Only few countries have demographic dividend including India, and we were not able to use it in a full potential. So that's what the report has said, and few more observations. Let's see what observation the report has made. First one, pace of the job growth in the South Asian region is not with the synchronicity with the growth. For example, economy is growing, every year GDP is increasing. Our GDP is increasing 6%, 7%, 8%, the GDP is growing, but the percentage of jobs that are growing were not in synchronity. For example, the GDP is growing at 8% every year, but the employment creation is just 1 to 2%, right. So the growth has to take the jobs, the job growth as well along with it, but it is not happening in the South Asia. So that is the first and important observation that the bank has made, the report has made. And coming to the India's employment growth, it was since 2000, the study was conducted from 2020 to 2023, for 23 years. It has said that the average growth in its working age population, the employment was not in a synchronity with the population growth. Population are growing, but the job creation was backlogged, right. So that is what one more observation that was made. And India's employment ratio has declared more than any other country, right. So for any other country in the South Asian region excepting Nepal, right. So India's employment ratio is at the least, just below the Nepal. We are one of the worst performers in the employment creation in the South Asian region. So this is the third observation made by the report. Then the weak employment trends is concentrated on the non-agriculture sector. So it means our economy has agriculture sector, the primary sector, and then we have manufacturing or industry you can say, and then service sector we have, right. So these are the three important sectors, the primary sectors, right. Primary sector which is having agriculture and mining something, then manufacturing, industry, services. So the report is saying that agriculture is performing well in terms of employment. Agriculture is giving sufficient employment, but other sectors, non-agriculture sectors are not giving sufficient employment. So this is again the other observation made by the report, right. And what recommendation it has made to improve this condition? The report also given certain recommendations to follow. First one is enable the women participation. The percentage of women who are participated in the economy is only 25%, right, 25 to 26%. Out of 100 women, 75 women are not participating in economy, they are just taking care of the family work. So if we could able to encourage them to participate in the economic growth, India's growth as well as employment creation will increase more. So that is one suggestion given. Second one, increase openness to the trade. So we have a very restrictive trade, many of the countries keep on complaining about this, that yes, of course it is having negative effects as well. If we allow those free trade, many of the goods will be dumped into India because we have a very good amount of population. But anyway, the report recommended to have a free trade between the countries including India. Then improve education, the technical education, the practical education has to be improved. So if you could able to follow these things, you can come out of this situation. That's what the report has said. So these are all the things that you need to remember and use it in your answers if you are writing the subjective exams, right. So that is about the report. Fine. Let's move to the next article, that is Paradip Port, very important for objective exams, right. So recently it was taken from Press Information Bureau. No newspapers has covered this, but yes, this is a very important. You will see the question in about this Paradip Port, right. So this Paradip Port Authority has reached the new heights in the MMT cargo management. Cargo means the goods. Cargo means whatever the goods that is being carried. So total in this financial year of 2023-24, we are done with the financial year. Financial year stands from April 1 to March 31. Any year which is considered as April 1 to March 31 is a financial year. In this financial year, it has crossed the Kandla port in the Gujarat. So Kandla port was the largest cargo handling port till now. But this year, Paradip port has crossed that, estimating, the total amount is million metric tons of 145.38. So it has crossed the Kandla port. This is the context we have taken. Now it is the largest port which is handling the cargo in India for 2023-24 year. So they will ask this question in the exam. So this is why we have taken this article. Now let us know about Paradip port. Paradip port is a natural and a deep water port. Natural and artificial ports, there are two types of ports. Natural means where there is no need of a lot of involvement of the manpower. So already there is a proper water, there is a proper geography located in that particular coastal area. So it can be naturally created without much effort from the humans, right. So this is a natural and deep water port. The draft means the depth of the water should be sufficient so that ships can move, the bigger ships also can move into this port. So it is a natural and deep water port located in the eastern coast and in the state of Odisha. It is also called as Jagadishpur port because Jagadishpur is the town that is located near this port, right. So it is located in Odisha. It is situated on the confluence of Mahanadi river and Bay of Bengal. So where Mahanadi river is joining into the Bay of Bengal, at the confluence region, the Paradip port is located. Very, very important to be remembered. And this port is being handled by Paradip Port Trust, an autonomous body under Ministry of Ports, right. So Ministry of Shipping. So this is also the management part of the port. And this port uniqueness is no other port have that, and near this port the soil is very soft. So the underwater soil is very soft, and whenever we need to increase the depth, it can be easily increased. So in all other ports, the major ports that we have, the soil is very tough. We need we need to do lot of what you call siltation and the extraction of siltation and all we need to do, but this we have a soft soil where we can dig and we can increase the draft or depth of the port, right. But you may ask, sir, will it not affect, if the soil is soft, will it not affect the working nature of the port? Yes, it will affect. That's why we have a piles and all. It is very technical thing, no need to worry. So pile foundation and all will be used. Accordingly it can be managed, right. And it is one of the 13 major ports in India, right. So you can see here 13 major ports, Haldia and then Kolkata port, Paradip port, here it is in the Odisha. Then we have Visakhapatnam, Chennai, we have Tuticorin, right, Cochin, Mangalore, Goa, Mumbai, and then Kandla, Mundra port. So these are all the major ports of India, and Paradip is one of the 13 ports of major ports in India. And initially it was developed to export iron ore to Japan. The main aim when we launched this Paradip port was to enhance the export of iron to the Japan. So that is the objective of the port. This was asked in the Civil Services exam 2021. So in 2021 they have asked, but this is just a statement. They have asked about Kandla port and all, 3 statements were there. This is one statement asked in the UPSC Civil Service exam. So these are all the facts that you need to remember from Paradip port. Any doubts in this? I hope there is no doubt. Fine. Let us move to the next article, the Kallakadal. If you are from Kerala or if you are following any social media also, there was lot of images where the sea water were intruded into the coastal regions of Kerala, right. So that is called as the event of Kallakadal, right. So the Kerala state was affected by the swell waves or sea waves, we can call swell waves, right, or storm surges affected by the Kerala state. Now what is this Kallakadal word? So it means, there are 2 things of Malayalam meanings. One is Kallan. Kallan means thief. Kallan means thief and Kadal means sea. So sea thief, it is locally called as the sea thief, right. And how it is created? these are mostly occurred in the pre-monsoon season. The monsoon starts from the June. So these events of Kallakadal or storm surges usually, generally, but it does not mean it only happens in the pre-monsoon season. It can happen in any of the seasons as well, but mainly occurring in the pre-monsoon season. And what are this? These are the larger waves created by the global winds. Usually there is a wave action in any of the beaches. If you go, there is a wave action, and then tides which are generated because of the attraction between earth, moon and sun, those are tides, and wave activity is also general case, right? But the natural waves, the normal waves are created or influenced by the local winds. Locally there are certain winds. If you go to the beach area, you will see lot of wind pushing towards you, right? So the wind activity is more higher. Those are local winds. But here Kallakadal happens due to the gale winds or the bigger winds coming from the larger distances in the deeper oceans. So the wind hits the water, and because of the huge force, the water will move towards the coast, and then the wave height will increase when compared to the general wave action. These Kallakadal waves have a higher intensity because of the larger winds that was influencing the water to flow towards the coastal regions, right? So because of this, the more water is pushed towards the land area because of the larger waves, and it is affecting the population living over the coastal regions, right? So these waves travel many thousands of kilometers. Usually the waves, if you see in the coastal region, those are travelled from 10 kilometers or maybe 50 kilometers, those travel and hit the coast. So they are smaller in size because of the local winds, but this is travels from the larger distances, and that's why the wave height is more, right? Usually this Kallakadal occurs in the southern part of Indian Ocean. If this is the India, this is Indian Ocean. So this in the southern Indian Ocean, just above the Antarctic continent, here the Kallakadals are created, and these waves travels toward the Indian coast, and then it creates the storm surges here. So that is about the Kallakadal, and the question may be asked where these are occurred. Usually they are occurring in the southwestern region, because Kallakadals create in the Indian Ocean, South Indian Ocean, and moves towards the Indian coast. So that is about the Kallakadal. Any doubt in this? So just to make you understand once again, just difference is these are waves, but because these are bigger waves, as there is an influence of the global winds, not the local winds, but the global winds hitting the water and then moving towards the Indian coast. That's why the length or the height of the wave is much higher when we compare to the general waves, right? The last article for today is Dosti 16. I will show you the question also. Please try to understand. This was recently asked in APPSC Group 1. Group 1 examination it was asked. I will show you the question also. We will solve that. So here let us understand, it was completed, Dosti 16 was completed in Maldives, right? That is why we have taken this article. Now let us know about the Dosti exercise. It is a trilateral. Trilateral means it is involve 3 countries. 3 countries has been involved, trilateral, and Coast Guard exercise. We have a number of defense services. We have Air Force, we have military, right? We have Navy, and we have a Coast Guard. So this is not related to the military or Air Force or Navy. It is related to the Coast Guard. That is one important thing to be remembered. So it is a trilateral coastal guard exercise between India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. These are the 3 countries involved, right? It was the first conducted way back in 1991. It was conducted way back in 1991, but then only 2 countries were involved. Those are India and Maldives. First it was started with only India and Maldives, and later in 2012 Sri Lanka has joined this initiative. Yes, so Sri Lanka has joined this after a few years in 2012, right? And the main focus of this exercise is to provide the assistance to the ships in the Indian Ocean region. Anything related to the pollution, sometimes the cargo that is carrying may collapse or oil may spill. So anything in the Indian Ocean region, these 3 countries will coordinate and help each other, right? So this is about the Dosti exercise, and related to this is the 16th edition in 2024. It has happened in Maldives. This is again important. It has happened in Maldives, and from India ICGS Indian Coastal Guard ship Abhinav and then Samarth. These two has participated in this Dosti 16 exercise. That is also important to be remembered. And this year Bangladesh has participated as an observer member. So it is an observation member rather than a full time member. So these are all the facts related to this year edition Dosti 16. So that's all we have articles for today. Let's see the factual pointers which are relevant for our exam. First one, Gagan Shakti 2024 exercise is being conducted by the Indian Air Force from April 1 to 10. So this was asked in UPSC, ESC exams as well. There was some military exercise that was asked. Civil services they did not ask in recent times. Until 2016 they used to ask very factual questions, but it was more analytical. But other exams they are asking. So Gagan Shakti 2024 exercise was conducting by Indian Air Force. That is important. Next one, CoviNet. World Health Organization have introduced the CoviNet, an initiative to reduce COVID or to eradicate COVID completely. You might be, sir, already COVID has gone, why WHO is coming up with the initiative now? It is not. It may come up and still some countries are reporting the COVID cases. The main aim as a humans is we need to eliminate any of the disease completely. So because of that, World Health Organization have released the CoviNet, a new initiative to completely eliminate the COVID in the next coming few years. So that is one more thing. And next fact is April 2nd, that is yesterday, we have celebrated the World Autism Awareness Day. So autism is a situation or a disease because of genetics where our brain is not fully matured and the normal human behavior will not be seen in those persons, right? So that is the autism and we are celebrating it on April 2nd, and the theme is empowering autism voices. Very, very important. The theme is important. The theme of this year's edition is empowering autism voices. So that is the theme of this year World Autism Awareness Day. So this is all for today's discussion. Now let's move to the practice questions from the articles that we have discussed. First, this is asked, this was taken from ABPSC paper this year, as I said, Group 1 exam from current affairs. They have asked this question, Group 1 exam, right? So let's solve this question. First one, first statement, Dosti 16 is a trilateral coast guard exercise between India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. So this is the conducted from February 22 to 25, right? So this was already happened one, already it was conducted early. So this year edition, it has conducted between India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. That is the first statement. The Dosti drill was started in 1991 as a bilateral exercise between India and Sri Lanka. So this is the second statement. Third statement, Indian Coast Guard ship Samarth and ICGS Abhinav has participated in this year Dosti 16 exercise. Yes, answer 1 and 3 only, 2, 3 only, 1, 2 only, 1, 2, 3. This was the statements given. Now let's know the statement one by one. First statement is correct. It was conducted between India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and it is a trilateral coast guard exercise. So one should be there. Second one, the Dosti drill was started in 1991, correct, bilateral, correct, coast guard, but it is not between India, Sri Lanka, but Maldives. Sri Lanka joined in 2012. So this is eliminated. So 2 should not be there and we got the answer as A, right. Third statement is correct. Samarth and Abhinav has participated in Dosti 16. So most of you have answered it as correct. Ganesh, Rachna, Madan, Rajkumar, Ramya, Santosh, Srinath, Malini, all of you are correct. There is no wrong answer. I can see from the comment section. Okay. So very direct question, factual question. Next one, with reference to Enforcement Directorate, which of the following statements are correct? So Enforcement Directorate we have seen. Let's see the statements related to it. It is mandated with the task of enforcing the provisions of foreign exchange Management Act and the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So this is the first statement. Second statement, it is a statutory body. So they are saying it is a statutory. Statutory means established through any of the law or act, right? That is the second. Like CBI, Enforcement Directorate can also register a case on its own. So this is the third statement. So let's see, first one we have discussed this, right? So like CBI, Enforcement Directorate cannot, they don't have their own. So third statement should be eliminated. Now comes the first statement is already there, so very generic, in both options it is there. So that is the first, and it is a statutory body established through some law, they are saying. So this is wrong. Enforcement Directory is not established by any law. Did we discuss any law where Enforcement Directory was mentioned? Only implementation it is doing, but there is no law mentioned about the establishment of Enforcement Directory. It was just a unit created under the Department of Revenue, under Ministry of Finance, right? It is not a statutory. As you may confuse, there are three types of bodies. Try to understand this. In organizations we have three types of bodies. One is constitutional bodies. Constitutional. So constitutional means those body working nature as mentioned in the constitution itself. You can take Supreme Court, you can take Election Commission, right? So these are all constitutional bodies mentioned in the constitution itself. Next are statutory bodies. Statutory bodies. Here these organizations are mentioned in the act passed by the Parliament. You can take Central Water Commission, right? So Central Pollution Control Board, these are established under Environment Protection Act, right? Water Pollution Act. There are certain acts which were mentioned about these bodies. Those are called as the statutory bodies. Next is executive or non-statutory. Executive or non-statutory, both are the same. So it is just appointed, established by the government. There is no act, there is no constitution, nothing as mentioned. Only that it is directly established by the central government. So those are called as the executive or non-statutory bodies. Now Enforcement Directorate is not mentioned anywhere. Only acts are being implemented by this organization, but this body has not mentioned in any of the act. So it is an executive or non-statutory body, right? So this is not a statutory one. So answer is A. So no one have answered it as correct. I don't know why we haven't discussed it, right? Statutory one. So the answer is A. Next question. South Asia Regional Update Report is a publication of. South Asia Regional Update Report is a publication of. Right. So we have seen Asian Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, World Economic Forum. So these are the options given. Now World Economic Forum is nowhere near to it. We have discussed this, because Asia is here, so at least you can eliminate this. Then you may confuse between these three, but we have seen the discussion in detail what the World Bank has given. So all of you are correct, there is no wrong answer, right? Madan, Trida, Srinath, Swaroop, Ramya, everyone, Indira, Rachna, Santosh, Malini, all of you are correct, there is no wrong answer, very direct question. Next one, which of the following statements about Paradip port are correct? I have added all the three statements were taken from some of the exams. It is not a single question, but I have taken one question from some civil services and one statement I have added. Let's see who will answer this. It is specifically designed for the export of iron ore. So that is the first statement. Second statement, it is located on the Orissa coast, the Odisha coast. That is the second statement. In 2023-24, it emerged as the highest cargo handling major ports of the country. So this is the third statement. So what is the answer for this? First statement, it is specifically designed to export iron ore to Japan. Yes, this is a correct statement. So one should be there. Second one, it is located on the Odisha coast. Yes, it is located in Odisha, right? Jagdishpur. In 2023-24 it is the highest cargo handling port. So this is also correct. So 4 is D, right. So I do not know why some people are answering it as C. So Odisha coast or Orissa coast, both are same, we have seen, right. Paradip port is located on the confluence of Mahanadi river and Bay of Bengal in the state of Odisha. So this is also correct. Answer is D. The last question for today, consider the following statements regarding Kallakkadal, about Kallakkadal. So Kallakkadal are the flash flood events that takes place without any noticeable advance change in the local winds in the coastal environment. So this is the first statement. Both are same, Malini, Odisha or Orissa, both are same. Orissa was a older name, earlier name, and now we are calling it as a Odisha. So I have just copied from old question. So it was question asked in 2000 something where the name was Orissa, but now it is Odisha, both are same, don't worry, fine. So that is state of Odisha or state of Orissa early name, fine. Second state, this is the first statement, they occur along the Indian coast, particularly of the western coast. So that is the second statement. Third statement, tsunami and Kallakkadal are similar type of waves with similar causes and mechanisms, right. So these are the three statements. First statement, Kallakkadal are flash floods, yes, this is correct, that takes place without any noticeable advance change. Yes, this is one of the core feature. Unlike other things, we have certain features like dark clouds and all, there is no such symbols or signals given by this, and suddenly it comes into the coast. So first statement is correct. Second statement, they occur along with the Indian coast, particularly west coast, yes, right. And tsunami and Kallakkadal both are different. Tsunami happens when there is a plate movement. If you are a geography awareness student, under the ocean there are plates, and when the plates got jerk, there is an earthquake generated. So earthquake will be generated under the oceans, in the under the seas, and then the energy is pushed to the water. So this water flows towards the coast and it will lead to the bigger waves than the Kallakkadals, right. So that is tsunami. Both are different. So answer is A, 1 and 2, right. So all of you have answered it as correct except 1 or 2, I do not know why it is C, it is A. So third statement is wrong. So that is the today's session. I hope you have enjoyed the session today, and we have very brief session, hopefully we got some time as well, we saved some time as well. So keep following and keep subscribing. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.